But nah, so with that being said, I do appreciate your perspectives and your positions because, like I said, you have a very based and very, like, it's like yours is deeply rooted in something real, right? It tells me that, and I don't even know, but it tells me that you have a wonderful family. That
I actually don't.
You don't? Okay. Well, we are the Outlaws and Scholars podcast. When two seemingly contrasting worlds collide, the world of outlaws and the world of scholars. There's something appealing about the rebel. The rebel is dangerous.
Squat down like the little bitch you are and talk shit. If you want to talk shit, stand up like a man, motherfucker, and talk shit.
But you feel safe in his presence. And the intellectual, it's also appealing. It may seem harmless from the outset, but when you hear him speak, you get a glimpse of just how formidable that man is.
You don't get freedom peacefully. Freedom is never safeguarded peacefully. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom.
Neither one is someone that you want to fuck with. It's time to question everything that you believe. Here is the starting point to the journey of finding your answers. Enjoy the show. He got wicks, and then he cut it in half. He had like you, shaved on the sides, and he grew it out, and then he got the breast put on the sides. Oh. Crazy. This shit's like there. It's like, damn, that shit crazy.
Man, a lot of people they doing wild stuff to have instant locks now.
But it's his hair.
Yeah.
He just cut it in half
and
put it, you know what I'm saying? So, Stephan, my brother, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man.
The Outlaws and Scholars podcast. You are a best-selling author.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, the books.
Yeah, I got like over 10 books. Books like The Man God Has for You, He Who Finds a Wife, Love After Heartbreak, which to me is like the most important book I've written because it breaks down how to heal from your past. And it's a book for men and women. And that's the thing, I got several for men, I got many for women, and I got a lot more to come, you know what I'm saying?
So you are a certified relationship coach?
Yes.
All right, so is your message mainly to men or women, or is it to both?
It's to both.
Okay.
It's just that the platform for women got bigger faster. You know, my first book ever was to men.
Okay.
But I realized that it's hard to get a lot of guys to come to the table when it comes to relationship stuff. I would say when I first started off.
Right.
Nowadays, with YouTube kind of changing a lot of content that has come out in the last few years, I do think more men are now listening, but they tend to listen to a certain type of relationship content. Yeah. And the angle that I'm coming from, I realized I had to be more strategic with how I'm gonna get the message to them. So from there, I kind of started focusing more on women simply because they were the ones that were coming to listen more. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like if you're a cook and you're making food for everybody, but one type of people is coming to eat.
You're focused on that.
Exactly, that's all it was. But
the men are listening in secret, right?
Yes.
In silent, They're quiet about it.
You know, that's the crazy thing because even though my audience is mainly women, I get approached by more men in the street who's like, yo, I appreciate your work, I listen to it, I'm learning from it. So they definitely watch more in secret.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now in the podcast space with a lot of relationship talk, right? And I'm sure you're familiar with the red pill.
Yeah.
What is your views on that? Do you think it's a positive thing? You think it's negative? Like, where you stand on that?
So my honest views and perception is that I look at red pill the same way I look at the feminist movement. Whereas there's two factions of the feminist movement from my perspective. There's the faction that is driven by their hatred of men, and then there's the faction that's driven by trying to uplift other women and create more opportunity for them. So in the red pill space, I believe there are men who generally want to uplift men, help men do better, but a lot of it is driven by this deeper rooted hatred or resentment towards women. And that faction of it, which tends to be, I would argue, the bigger faction, the one that
louder,
gets the most, yes, they're the loudest, they get the most views, that's the dangerous one. Because even though there's a lot of accurate information being presented, when it's coming from a bad place or an unhealthy place, it steers a lot of men down the wrong path, and it also doesn't push men into finding what's truly best for them. It's about, well, no, this is how you should always do it. So like, I'll give an example with the women. One of the issues I have is You'll have the feminist who's driven by the hatred of men a lot of times will tell every woman, well, you all need to have a career. You all need to get your own money, right? But that may not be what makes that woman happy specifically. Right. She may find her peace at home. Her heart may truly be in family and relationship. So we should be encouraging her to find what makes her happy, not what you think should be the way the woman handles things. And I think for a lot of dudes, like, there might be this push of, well, you gotta make all this money. Not every dude's gonna be happy with what it takes to make all that money and sustain all that. They might be more wired for a simpler life. So we should be pushing them to whatever is gonna be where their peace and happiness is, you know what I'm saying? So I think we have to be very careful. And a lot of other messages that I think creates more separation between men and women rather than more harmony between men and women.
Do you, in your opinion, you surveying the land, do you see any red pill creators that you think are positive and are giving good messages that people can learn from?
I ain't even gonna lie to you, like, cause I don't really watch a lot of other people's content enough to call out any specific creator, and I can't say anyone has come. There's no one that comes to mind right now. But in fairness, I haven't dived enough into it, because again, a lot of times I do understand that sometimes someone could have a good message, but people will clip up the small little sound bite that now misrepresents what they really stand for. You know what I'm saying? So you can have a very false perception of what this person is all about based off the clips you see on the internet. So unless you really dive deep into their content, I'm careful of forming an overall opinion on them.
It's interesting because what you said makes so much sense. You would think most people would not just take a clip and say that's their word, right? But that's what people do. So it's like we have to be mindful of that. I know I do, because I say some wild shit sometimes. Because this is how I am, my personality, but people do not listen. They don't even care about context. And it's bizarre to me. It's like, yo, don't you want to know what was said before that?
No, listen, the minute you say something that triggers them, good or bad, that they shut down from everything else. And they don't consider what is the full context of this discussion. And you would think by now that people understand when they see a clip on the internet, it is only a clip of a bigger interview, but they don't view it that way. And they just run with whatever they want to run with.
This is the epitome of ancient wisdom and modern practices. Mental jewels is a nootropic or a smart drug. It enhances your memory and focus, boosts your mental clarity, it improves your cognitive functioning, and it elevates your mood, and it mitigates stress. The ingredients, they're all from Mother Earth or Pachamama. Yesterday, I went on a walk with my daughter, and I said to her that her awesome is at a level 1,000. She said, no, Dad, it's 1,000 billion trillion. I said, that's a lot of awesome. Where do you keep all of that awesome at? She pointed at her head and her heart, then her arms and her legs. And I thought to myself, like, wow, this little girl gets it. And I don't think she even realizes how much she actually gets it. So I saw this as an opportunity for me to make that a very practical thing to her, because that's what I do, right? So I said, repeat after me, deoxyribonucleic acid. She looked confused and she tried. I said, come on, deoxyribonucleic acid. She tried, did a few times, and I said, don't worry about it, just say DNA. She said DNA. She said, Dad, what's DNA? What is that? I said, DNA is digital information. The information is genetic instructions. It's a very complicated code that articulates the development of you. And everyone has DNA. Your DNA determines your height, your hair, your eyes, your smile, literally everything about you. I asked, do you know where you get your genetic instructions from, or your DNA? She pondered on it for a minute. I seen her use her deductive reasoning, and she said, you and mommy? I said, correct, very good. While you have some of the same genetic instructions that we do, your full DNA sequence is entirely your own. There's no one else in the world with the same DNA as you. Then she got it. She said, so my awesome is DNA? I said, yep. And you're right, you do have a lot of it. See, this is how I approach all things in life. Everything has to be practical. Everything should make sense. The imagination of a child is fertile. The imagination of an adult is disciplined. I've learned through my children to merge the two, allowing the mind to produce what comes natural to it. Now, this doesn't have a direct correlation to Mental Jewels, but I thought it was a cute story. So, I'm not sure what the first piece of content of yours that I saw, but I liked it, right? And I never did a deep dive, but everything that I saw, I liked. And I can gauge somebody easy, fast, right? So, I did do a deep dive when we scheduled to come on, and I'm like, yo, this dude is solid, right? Now, I will say this, your message is geared towards women, mostly, because that makes sense, that's who taps in. Typically, I don't like guys like that, right? And I'm gonna tell you why, right? Can I see your computer real quick? I'm gonna show you something. I wanna see what you think about this guy.
I already see that.
Yeah. So this guy I'm gonna show you right here, he follows me, and I didn't know nothing about him. I was giving him follow back. And now we hear these clips. I'm like, what? This is weird. Mm-hmm. The next one, what? I just went on this shit. I'm like, yo, what are you talking about, right? Just you tell me if you rock with this man. I'm gonna just click on the first one.
All right.
Women are tired.
Okay.
They are tired of giving men chances who end up just wasting their time. So now as soon as a woman senses something is off, she's out. If you're giving other women attention, she's out. If you don't have any goals or ambition, she's out. If you disappear and go MIA for hours or days, she's out. If you aren't working on the relationship and y'all future together, she's out. She's not explaining herself or waiting around for you to do better. If you aren't gonna do right by her, move out the way so that a real man can.
Real man. All right, so let's say you just come across one of these videos.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I ain't mad at it.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going, right?
Some men don't understand how hard it is for a good woman to walk away from them. Even after all the BS he puts her through, she'll still look for one reason to try to make it work because she can't see herself making it work with some. She's single because she's looking for 90s love in this 2023 generation.
All of this is like 90s love, trying to get a viral clip, a moment, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And there's way more sillier shit than that, right?
Yeah.
But what's your views on it? Are you familiar with this person?
I'm familiar with that content, with that dude. And so I'm gonna say this. Two things that bother me when it comes to any creator. Number one, I always tell people, I don't care about the messenger, I'm focused on the message, right? Mm-hmm. So if the message is good and it's healthy, I'm cool with it. Okay. If it's unhealthy and it's bad, then I got a problem with it. The thing though with a lot of creators is that when your message is very one-sided, so I think people may look at a clip of mine and think I'm just supporting women, right? But if they actually watch the full video or they actually read the whole book, like I had a dude tell me when he first came across me, he hated me. And then someone insisted on him reading one of my books that were actually for women. And when he read it, he was like, yo, he thought I was amazing. Like he realized what I was doing. He realized, no, I present both sides.
I'm gonna say this about your content. Let's say it is all for women, right? Mm-hmm. You're very based and your assessment and your breakdown of things are very well thought out, and it's real. It has depth to it. Right. That has zero depth.
Exactly.
I even heard him saying stuff that I heard other people saying about men, but flipping it about women.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. And it's just like, that to me is like, I'm trying to go viral, I'm trying to be a thing, right?
Absolutely.
I don't see that with you. Now listen, everybody, it's ideal to go viral, right? We all trying to make a living, an honest living here, but you know, you don't have to sell, to me that's like, there's no depth, you're selling your soul to an extent, it's like, I'm gonna just go all out. I'm gonna hold the simp flag, right? And I don't even like the term simp, but to me that guy's a simp.
It's just because, listen, the thing is, a lot of dudes realize a long time ago. There's this book, I always forget the name of it, but it's called like the One Sentence Persuasion or something like that. And the premise of it is like there's these principles of how you can automatically gain an audience or gain favor with a certain kind of audience. And one of the principles was throwing rocks at their enemies, all right? So there's a lot of creators that they take the approach of, I'm gonna bash the other side to win favor with this group. So that those male creators might-
That's cheap though.
Yes, it is cheap. but they know it works.
Yeah.
And that's why they run with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, again, if someone is talking about relationships can never be a one-sided discussion.
Correct.
You have to consider various angles if you're really trying to help people fix things. So if you're only coming at it from one side, you clearly are showing me you're not genuine about helping people. You're jumping on the wave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of folks who, they're not even relationship coaches, therapists, or anything. They can literally be a music artist and they'll start making relationship videos.
They get
that's
attention.
what goes viral.
They get attention. It's a thing.
Exactly.
So there was a clip that went viral recently. That, what do you think about it? It was a guy in a red suit, red jumpsuit, sitting on the couch with another guy, and he was telling him how you're not a man if you don't pay 100% of everything. Right?
Oh, okay. I think I did catch that.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
See, and that's another problem I have, because you gotta leave room for exceptions and adjustments to certain principles. So I'm a firm believer in men being protectors and providers. So I'm gonna always push that message. But to say you're not a man if you don't pay 100%, to me, that's just unreasonable, especially when you have to consider the world that we live in today. We don't live in a time where women weren't working and all the jobs were just for the men. And it really was about just go out there and go get it. Now, I still think a lot of dudes ain't going out there and getting it the way that they should. I do think a lot of men are suffering from whether it be low testosterone, low drive for different reasons, low ambition, and that needs to change. But to go all the way and say you're not a man if you're not paying 100%, I just think that's unrealistic. And I also think that you have to consider, so like even when I tell people, I don't believe in 50-50, right? But I think you have to make room for the fact that, what if a man meets his wife or potential wife in college? Ain't no dude in college or late high school in position to be paying for everything.
Well, here's the reality, bro. The exception is the man that can do 100%.
Yes.
That is the exception, right? I know, I'm in a 1%. I'm not naive to reality. My life is not gonna be, it's not a monolithic thing that most people can adopt. I have friends who, the wife work, they work, beautiful family, no problems, right? That's normal. So to say for that guy, I didn't like that video at all, right? And then as I went and looked at his content, I'm like, he's flexing on this guy, right? For content, right? And I want to sit with him. I'm like, you're not a man because you're short. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if I said that, right? His wife is bigger than him, but you know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. It's like, that's sending a message that, and I see the women loving it, right?
Of course.
But it's also telling them that they're not valuable in the workspace. There's nothing valuable that they can do. The most valuable thing that they can do is be at home and be housewives, which, look, I'm a very traditional man. That's my situation. But if my woman was a boss, I'd love that shit. You know what I'm saying? I've dated a woman before that had as much as I had. I loved it. You know what I'm saying? I loved it. So it's like, my ego, I do have a healthy ego, but I'm based in reality, right? And I've had situations before when a woman did nothing. She would get bored and just fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's healthy for a person to have something. You know what I'm saying? To do something, to be productive in some kind of way. Because the family vibe is starting a family is a season. The whole relationship is not going to be that. You know what I'm saying? So what are we doing before that? You know what I'm saying? Or what happens when the kids are they're doing their own thing, they're teenagers or whatever, right? So, I do believe in what you said, providing and protecting. I provide the safest space possible for my children's mother to thrive as a mother, not have to worry about anything. That's me. But I know that that's not reality for a lot of people.
Exactly. And that's why we have to be careful, because to me, it would be more fair if he was like a man who isn't trying to work, provide, apply himself, finding his purpose, then you haven't reached that level of manhood yet. But to say you have to be in a position right now to pay 100%. Now, I do think, I encourage men where, all right, going back to the example of maybe you met your girl when you're young, y'all don't have money yet. I think we should be creating a framework that says we're gonna work to be in a position where I can handle all the bills and give that woman the flexibility. And I think people misunderstand that with that automatically means she'll never work. No, I'm just saying there's a difference between her having to work and her choosing to work. And then within that choice, we can then use that money for other things, because they also automatically assume that means her money will just all be her money. Well, no, her money could be investment for the couple.
It's ours.
Exactly.
It's ours.
We can still find ways to grow our kingdom and do more with it, but it doesn't have to be a pressure of, if she's not working, we can't pay this house note. You feel what I'm saying? And that also, the reason why I don't like that dynamic of not giving the woman the flexibility is because I feel that we've lost the priority of making sure we're raising our kids properly. And because both parents are out the household, and not just out the household, stressing over their job.
Tired.
Well, exactly, worn the hell out, they don't have time to pay attention to the kids. And in today's world, to me, you could be the best parents and you still might have kids go left. Because there's so many outside influences that are corrupting these children. So if anything, we need that house presence even more now than ever before. And so I think it's good for men to work towards that, but I would never say you're not a man because you're not at that level yet, but you need to be applying yourself as such.
Yeah, it was just a weird thing for him to do, to clip that out.
You know what it is, you know what I'm saying?
And my frustration though, it ain't with him, because he's goofy, that's just who he is. But it's people buying that shit.
Always.
Even the other guy showed you, and I see girls I know liking it. I'm like, you wouldn't even talk to this guy in real life, right? You're whiny. He's like, you know, guys, she's tired. Like, what are you talking about? I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, but nah, so with that being said, I do appreciate your perspectives and your positions, because, like I said, you have a very based and very, like, it's like yours is deeply rooted in something real, right? It tells me that, and I don't even know, but it tells me that you have a wonderful family. Is that?
I actually don't.
You don't? Okay. Well, that's interesting. So why not? Or have you ever tried to? Or what about relationships made you go deep into it?
So as far as what made me go deep into it, it was all a spiritual journey through God, because I would have never picked this career. My degree's in IT, management information systems. And when I graduated college, I was like managing a call center. I was in real estate investment. I was like jack of all trades. I had a computer repair business. I was doing all kinds of different stuff. So the idea of getting on stages, speaking to people, writing books, none of that was anything I would have chosen for myself, which is why it's so crazy when I see dudes talk trash and talk like, oh, he only doing this to get women or for money. It's like, yo, one, I didn't even know when I jumped into this field that I could make and have a huge success.
How'd you get into it? Were you doing it as a career change?
No, so basically what happened was, a long story short, felt that God was telling me to move to Georgia. I was in Miami, and I was like, all right, so I moved to Georgia. I actually tried to throw parties when I moved to Georgia initially. And through the process of being up there, I was surrounded by married couples, and they was all coming to me for advice. I've always been that dude where random strangers felt comfortable telling me their life story, and I would never understand why. Now I kind of get it. But at that time, they was all coming to me, you know, venting and all these different things. And so that experience combined with the spiritual journey, I felt God, I prayed and God, because I was always asking God, okay, what do you want me to do next? And I felt God told me, go write a book. So it started with writing the book, which was how to get a woman to have sex with you if you're her husband. Because all the husbands were complaining about a lack of sex, and the women felt like
they wasn't paying 100%.
and they just didn't understand some of the deeper details of what makes a woman more sexually receptive, because a lot of men are being told women want sex just like us, but they're not considering there's an emotional and mental component that plays into how receptive she is. They're not wired like we are. And so there's a lot of disconnects in a lot of different relationships and marriages. So I said, all right, I'm gonna write the book, wrote the book. And even then, I didn't know what it would come, you know, what would become of this. I just kept praying and asking God, okay, what do I do next? Then it was a blog, then it was get certified as a coach. Then it was getting out there and speaking. And it just kept going from there, and then boom. But then I will also say that what also pushed me into the whole realm of relationships was that because people would always tell me the deeper stories, the things that the average person didn't know, like basically what was going on behind closed doors, I understood how much people were hurting and they were not getting proper guidance. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people were in relationships because family pressure, societal pressure, not because they felt love for this person.
Right.
And then we wonder why there's so many divorces. We wonder why there's so much disconnect in relationships.
Why do you think there's so many divorces in America? Because we're what, 50-something%?
Yeah, like around 50%. Because most people marry the wrong person and for the wrong reasons. And most people do not understand the foundational principles you need to have a successful relationship.
Right.
Most people don't even know who the hell they are. How you gonna know how to choose the right person to be with?
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. So people like to talk about traditional values, traditional ways. Traditional things, people were way younger getting married, right?
Yeah.
So did they know who they were back then? Because
No.
their marriages worked.
So
Well, it didn't. There wasn't a culture of divorce back then.
yes, so we have to redefine, or we have to discuss what we define as worked or successful. Marriages back then stayed together longer, absolutely. But the dysfunction we're seeing today is a result of the dysfunction that was going on in those long-lasting marriages. So it's like people will say, well, my grandparents were married for 50 years. Yeah, but were they miserable for 50 years or happy? Because if they was miserable, that miserableness went off onto the children, and now it's passed down through generations. It's not what we should be striving for. My goal isn't to help people simply stay together, it's to be happily together in a healthy relationship. So that's why a lot of people sometimes, they might say, well, arranged marriages, right, have a super low rate of divorce. And they'll say, well, that's the successful model, we should adapt that. But if you sat down with people who got in an arranged marriage, a lot of them are unhappy. And again, the children that come from those households, they're not coming out saying, oh man, this was so amazing, I want my own arranged marriage. They're like, they don't want no part of it.
Well, I gotta give you a little bit of pushback on that.
Okay.
Because in my culture, that's known, right? I'm a Muslim. A lot of my family live in the Middle East, and that's the norm, right? And when things are not, see, it's not like back in the day. When things are not feeling right early, you get out of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you're forced to stay in it, right? But people tend to, it works, and people learn to love each other, right?
See, but I think, to give you some pushback, because the whole learning to love, a lot of times they're not learning to love, they're learning to tolerate. They're becoming conditioned to this person's presence. There is a level of, I care about this individual, and I think that so I was saying on a different podcast the other day, I said, it's easy to accept what you settled for if you don't believe better exists. But the minute you experience better, you will struggle to be okay with what you settled for.
Question for you.
Yes.
Okay, I take that on, right? I'm like, all right, I'm with Shorty, it's cool, everything's all right, but I just feel like there's better, okay? And then I go ahead and move on to something that's better. When does that stop? Right? Because it's always something better.
See, and I disagree. I think.
So you believe in the magic?
Yeah, I believe there's
feeling.
a deeper connection that can occur with two individuals, and I think that
What are you talking about, T? Look at him over there, like, whatever.
It's a rare occurrence, all right? And because it's so rare, so let's put it this way. If you meet 100 different women tomorrow, right?
Right.
And 99 of them, you're not gonna feel that connection with. So you're gonna always feel like this is a never ending what's better out there. But when you get to the right one, that you really feel like, yo, this is it, you're not thinking there's something better. So think about this. How many of us have seen dudes who were raised to be players? Like your uncles, your fathers were all like, yo, don't settle down, have multiple women, whatever. And then that dude, at some point in his life, meets a woman that he's willing to give up all the women for. It's just a natural occurrence that tends to happen for a lot of people, but I would say that for a lot of men, when they meet that woman, it tends to not work out for various reasons. And then what men tend to do is say, all right, I ain't gonna believe in that kind of situation no more. Let me not be vulnerable to just one woman. And now it's this never ending, all right, since I don't believe there's anything out there who I can be locked into, let me just reject the whole premise of, I'm losing my thought of where I want to go with that. But go ahead.
I see what you're saying, but I look at it like this. What's perfect? Like, what is that thing? What is that feeling, right? Who's trained to know that feeling, for one? There's a lot of lust, there's a lot of infatuation, there's all of these different feelings that all feel good. Who's to say what love really is? Love can't really be quantified, right? Maybe you can say, I would say love to me is like if I'm willing to give that ultimate sacrifice of whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll die for you. That's love, right? To me, love is duty, is actions, is not words. Because I love a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I hate a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's just a word, right?
Yeah.
It's an energy that has it's a spectrum, right? And it's one energy. One day you love somebody, the next day you hate that same person, right? How can I feel such ill feelings towards somebody that so-called love? So that's why, like, for me, love is a decision. I'm deciding to honor our rules of this relationship and to take care of you and protect you and to spend the rest of my life with you. To me, it's a decision because I personally don't adopt that notion that there's gonna be some feeling that just carries me through. You know what I mean? Because I'll have it and it'll go away. Or I'll not have it and it'll come. So it's like, I don't wanna be that person that, like right now, like my woman is dope. She's perfect in my eyes, right? And she loves me and treats me really good. So I reciprocate that, right? There's times that she get on my fucking nerves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's times that I get on her fucking nerves. I know it. You know what I mean? But she'll deal with it, and I appreciate that shit about her, right? There's women in my life that I loved dearly, right? Like for real. But when I would sit back and think practically about being with them, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be right. You know what I mean? Because you gotta think about all of these different factors, how they're raised, what they're used to, their expectations, right? But we love each other. You know what I'm saying? I literally, there was someone in my life that I was really considering, locking it down before my woman. And I'm like, and we loved each other. And it's rare, like, to be friends with somebody and love each other. I think that's an ideal relationship waiting to happen. But I was thinking practically, I'm like, I don't know. Practically, this could be a disaster. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm a thinker, right? I don't just do things just to do it. And my life is serious. Like, when I come into somebody's life, I'm taking over everything. I'm a tornado in a good way, right? Yeah. So, and I value what I'm gonna do. So I don't wanna squander that, because I did before and it did not feel good, you know what I mean? So I refuse to let that happen again. So anyway, it's like, where is that, how do you reconcile practicalities when you love somebody, but practically it might not be ideal?
So,
and versus, just to finish, versus someone that you may not love, but you're into, but it all makes sense.
So one, I think we have to make sure we don't conflate love with being in a relationship. Because as you mentioned, so I believe that love is energy, love is spirit, right? And it's something that we can give to anyone. And when we differentiate the love for this person versus the love for that person, it's typically separated by obligation or attraction. Meaning, a lot of times our love for our family is through the obligation of this is our family, we're supposed to care for them, be there for them, all these things. But sometimes we have family that if we would have met them in the street as strangers, we would have never dealt with them.
Yeah.
You feel me? Then there's the...
I got a family like that now.
And then using the example of a good friend, you can have a female friend who you love to death. You got her back, she got yours, but there's no attraction there. So when we say, well, I don't love her like that, no, you still love her.
But there's situations when you have that love and all of that, and there is attraction there.
Yeah, exactly.
But it won't make sense.
Okay, so which now brings me to the point of, I think especially as men, we have to understand is the goal has to be alignment, all right? So yes, there's many women we can love. And when I speak on experiencing a connection, I believe you're experiencing a spiritual alignment. Your spirit is recognizing its match. It's like, yo, this is the one you can share life with.
All right, I'm with you.
Okay.
What does that mean though?
As far as?
What does that match? Like our spirits recognize that alignment. What does that mean?
Okay, so let's take it to this place for a second. There's a belief by, I don't know by who, but many will say things happen in the spiritual before they happen in the physical, right? And so if you believe that principle, that means the spirit knows before we know. The spirit can see beyond what we can see. So a lot of times as humans, and especially as men, we're trying to decipher everything from our logical minds. And we're ignoring the spiritual knowledge that we possess within us that sees beyond what's going on the surface. So to put it in a simpler context, you may have an opportunity, a job opportunity come your way. And from the logic of it, it's like, yo, this makes too much sense not to jump on this. But if you went internally and prayed about it, spiritually you'd be told, yo, this ain't it. Now, you may not be able to see why this ain't it. You may not be able to quantify it in that moment.
I don't want to leave that part. Okay. So explain that. Spiritually, this is not it.
So for me, I believe everyone can, no matter what your specific spiritual belief is, they all tend to have the common belief that there is within us, the spirit, the inner voice, whatever you want to call it, intuition, gut instinct, whatever, that can give you guidance. And the reality is that most of us don't know how to tap into it. We do at times in life have it call upon us or speak to us in random moments, right? But again, we're in denial of it. Nah, we must be tripping right now. Nah, I don't know if in my
Give me an example.
So again, an example might be you wanted to go somewhere and something in you was telling you don't go. Like you need to stay away. Now for you again, and just for us as human beings, our logical minds might say, well, that's stupid. There's nothing wrong. Like let's say it's a party. And it's like, why would I go to this party? It was my homeboy's party. I've been to his house many times before. There's no reason I shouldn't go. But something in you is telling you, do not go. Because the spirit knows what is to come out of that situation that you may not be able to process and understand right now. So as humans, we have gotten so detached from our spirit that we don't understand the knowledge we possess within us to guide us in certain situations, including the person that we pick to choose life with and be in a relationship with. And so I think we've got to aim to get back in touch with that. But everyone experiences it at some point in life. It's just that they don't know how to embrace it, cultivate it, and nurture it into something that they can use at their own will.
Okay, so back to that spirit telling that person, don't go to that party.
Yeah.
So let's say the spirit was correct. Did something negative happen there? Did, people get in trouble, people get shot? Like give me a scenario, like play that out for me.
All right, so to me, it's you ever seen the show, I think it's called, Flight something? It's this show on Netflix where like this plane disappears and it comes back 5 years later?
Nah.
All right, well, so I believe that in life, especially when you're trying to be guided by God, everything is about purpose, all right? So when your spirit is telling you not to go here, it's about there's a purpose for why you should not go or why it's telling you to go somewhere. And it's not about good or bad, something bad happening, because our perception of good and bad is based off our logic and what we've been taught.
Right.
But we don't understand that sometimes what we view as bad is actually something amazing. So for example, I remember one time I had went to apply for this job I really wanted in the tech space. And when I went to interview, I thought I killed it. Didn't hear nothing back from them. So then I go to this other job a week later, I get hired. I'm at that job for a month, right? To this day, I was killing it. They promoted me after 3 weeks.
Right.
And then a week after I got promoted, I got fired. Now, my logical mind normally would think this is horrible. How could this happen? I lost my job. But then I ended up getting a call like literally 2 days later from the tech job, and they hired me. And it was like one of the best jobs I ever had.
Right.
And so again, how we process things in that moment, we think, oh, this is bad, but no, this might actually be a blessing. We just don't understand the purpose of this moment right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So I can resonate with that. So I'm a very practical person, right? And I'm not a man of belief, right? I'm a man of like knowledge, right?
Yeah.
I either know or I don't know or don't understand. And I have the humility to be able to accept that, right? And if I'm interested in it, I want to learn so I do understand it or know. So I think we might be on the same page, because this is what I'm saying. All right, let's say, for instance, that party that you're guided not to go. I still think that's a form of intellect, right? Okay. I still think that's the sum total of all of your experiences on this particular night, when maybe you have something going on tomorrow, right? Or maybe certain people want to be at that party. All of these things is like, I don't think we should be there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then you got to think about this, our amygdala. Now, humans evolve. We've been anatomical this way for around 200,000 years, right? Give or take. An ancient part of our brain that we have now and we had before this was the amygdala. It regulated fear and anxiety. kept us safe, right? Now, this is incredible. The amygdala, they found out, can keep you, it can like detect danger when you're not even conscious of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, something don't feel right, you know what I mean? But that's your brain, like, and this is something, because when you say people are not tapped into their spirituality, yeah, okay. And maybe that is, to an extent, being tapped in with the functions of the human mind, the human brain, because these are things I'm deeply fascinated in, right? They know more about the cosmos than the brain, you know? So that is fascinating to me. And, you know, I sit in meditation, I pray, I sit alone, I sit in quiet. And I understand myself to an extent. Not everything, but a lot of it, right? And I feel like things that I experience can always be reconciled, right? Now, if I say it's just the spirit guiding me, my spirit, I need to understand what that means, you know? And because here's the thing, we live in this vast universe, right? In which everything can be reconciled, at least with mathematical equations, which is beautiful, it's fascinating to me. So why can I not reconcile the things that I'm experiencing, you know? Or at least try to.
But I think that principle works when, as you mentioned, maybe your past experiences gave you enough knowledge or understanding that in this moment, this isn't the best thing to do. But there's gonna be moments in life where everything on paper or in front of you looks opposite of that. So essentially, everything looks safe. There is no logical reason why I should not do this thing right now. But if you go inward, and I believe, pray, and to your point, sometimes I believe a lot of what we believe is just being said in different ways, right? Yeah. So maybe there is a connection between that spiritual understanding and you said the amygdala was what it's called, right? So there may be some correlation there. But I think either way, things won't always make sense in front of us. And if we're just waiting for everything, and it does kind of go back to faith, you know what I'm saying? A lot of, depending on what your spiritual beliefs are, a lot of growing in God is about growing in faith and understanding that sometimes you're not going to be able to break down why this is this way or why I shouldn't do this thing right now. And I know it's difficult for a lot of people because, again, we're not raised in that kind of a mindset. We're not raised with approaching things in that manner. But I do think for those who can tap into it, they're gonna see, like, and it's hard to explain it until people experience it. It's one of those things where you might hear this and be like, man, this is nonsense, right? But then you actually go through some situations where you prayed, you listened to what you felt you were hearing from within, despite how logically it may have made sense on the outside, and then saw the positive result of listening to your spirit. And now you're like, oh, wait a minute. There might be something to this. Right. And the more you have experiences like that, the more you're like, damn. Like for me, that's why I believe so strongly in it, because I have so many personal examples of where, had I not listened to my spirit, I would have got myself into some nonsense.
Do you believe or you know? In those situations, you know what to do.
At that moment, I didn't initially know. I think now I have a better understanding. Now I can say I know in certain regards. Yeah. But at that moment, I didn't really know. I just jumped out on faith and said, all right, I'm gonna trust what I'm hearing and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Listen, you're braver than me. I can't do that, right? Because now I think most people are raised on a faith-based principle system. I don't like it because as a child, when I would come across information or whatever, and I'm asking my elders, like, what does this mean? And they can't really explain it. They're like, you just gotta believe. You just gotta have faith. And as a kid, I'm like, why? Like, why can't I understand it, you know? So I think that was pushed on some of us to shut us up. That's what I think, right?
Yeah.
Don't, just believe, just have faith. I don't. You know, I have faith in what I know, right? Because I live in this physical universe. I've been through so many things, right? I've lived a bunch of lives already, right? And I'm very fortunate to still be here and thriving. And I made a lot of mistakes. But the more I sit and I calculate my movements and I be more wise with the decisions that I make and I think things through, the better my life becomes, you know? And I like that. And it makes me, just like how your message was falling on feminine ears more, so you go deeper into that. My life gets better and better when I think more, when I abandon like faith, right? And not saying a connection with the Most High, because I am connected, but the things that are not understood and just accepting it. Nah, I gotta understand it, and I try hard to understand it. So that's all I'm saying. And I don't think we're off, right? Especially in the context of love, right? Love is love, but to me it's a decision, you know? It's a decision.
Let me give you an analogy real quick, because I think we all in some way have had moments where we went out on faith. So growing up, it's funny because I was the same type of kid as you. Anytime you told me something, it's like, why? If you can't explain it to me why, I don't want to hear it. I'm gonna do what I want to do, right? But the analogy I would use is that there was a point in our life where we jumped in a car and believed that car could get us from point A to point B. We may not have understood how the engine works. We may not have understood all the intricacies of this car, but we knew through our own experiences or experiences of others that you can trust that if you get in this car, in most cases, it's gonna work, right? Now, of course, if we get into a bad car that breaks down, it is what it is. But what I'm saying is there's always some level of, at least initially, where we may still act on faith. And then, yes, there's gonna be aspects of life that I think we can learn more about. When I look at listening to the Spirit, I guess I view it as, and it still goes back, at the end of it, it's gonna always go back to a level of faith, because even when you understand that the details of how this car works, you still have to trust that all these parts will work as you were told they would work. You feel me? None of us ever actually go through the process of testing every little aspect about it to make sure this is how it is. This is what guarantees us it works.
It's trust.
We just trust. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and to go back to the thing about love, again, I think when we say love is a choice, I think the relationship is a choice. So what I mean by that is essentially like, because if we don't meet somebody and say, I'm gonna fall in love with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna feel this great deal of connection or bond or this draw to them, right? It kind of just happens naturally. And then the choice is, am I gonna act on it? Am I gonna pursue this? Am I gonna now try to establish a relationship with this individual?
Right.
So I do think the relationship and the commitment to that relationship is the choice.
Right.
And so I think then with the love, we have to recognize when have we experienced something naturally occurring with this individual, or are we trying to create it with this person because we think, well, this would make the most sense as a partner for my life?
Yeah, no, I agree. So that was a good exchange. So, but I gotta know this.
Okay.
You are a best-selling author in the space of love. You are a certified boss in your space. How are you not married? Is that something that you want?
Yeah, it's something that I want. For me, it goes back to one, I'm big on, like, again, trusting God's timing. You know what I'm saying? And understanding that sometimes we swear we're ready for something, but we're not ready yet. And ready isn't simply about whether you have the knowledge to make it work. Ready is also about, is this the right time for you to move forward into that arena, so to speak? So it's almost like you might be a backup quarterback. You know the game, you know how to read the defense, but there may be something that you still need to evolve with before you are truly ready to take that starting quarterback position. You know what I'm saying? And if you rush it, you're gonna mess up. There's a blind spot you may be overlooked. So like for me, I know one of my blind spots early on was I hadn't learned how to balance life and work. You feel me? So it's like, all right, if I get a relationship, I'm gonna expect her to simply accommodate my schedule, which to a certain degree she still has to, because I'm a man who believes in you gotta walk in your purpose and you can't sacrifice that purpose for nobody.
100%.
But we still have to create a certain level of balance that makes sure our partner is getting what they need and we still have time to do what we need to do. And even learning who can actually step into that role, because there's a lot of women that might say, well, I'll do it, because a lot of people are so fixated on what they want and what they want to receive, but not what they have to give and the sacrifices they have to make. And because I understand people at a very deep level, you can tell me all you want that you can handle this. I can see it. I can see that, nah, that's not who you are. That's not how you're wired. So I think that was something I had to learn. And I had to learn the balance. I had to learn how to understand who I can be in alignment with, because we got tons of stories in history of great kings and powerful men being taken down by a woman. And not to like paint the woman as some evil force, it's just to say that you let the wrong woman into your life, it can derail everything.
Right.
So, and I think that when you're a man of high purpose and high achievement, the stakes are higher. You know what I'm saying? We have to be even more careful compared to somebody else. It isn't to say we're better than anybody. It's just to say, listen, we're in a position that there's more at stake and we have to be more cautious, and there's more people gunning to be by our side in this position. So we have to be able to evaluate even better. It's almost like I use the analogy, if Walmart, let me not say Walmart, if a job is hiring for some low minimum wage position and they only have 5 applicants, they got time to sit down with each applicant, and they're probably not gonna highly scrutinize because they don't got that many people come for the position anyway. They're just gonna get what they think they like and they're gonna run with it. And then they're accepting a high level of turnover. If you're Google hiring for this very high position, you have to be even more on point with your process. There's a lot more people applying. There's a lot more you have to sift through.
Right.
There's a lot more downfall of putting the wrong person in that position. And so those things, as well as the fact that I don't know if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs personalities. All right, so I'm an INFJ. And that's, I hope I'm saying that right. But either way, I'm the rarest personality type. And for men, it's even more rare because INFJs have a high level of intuition. So the way I try to explain it to people is, I'm a firm believer that a lot of women, because of their high level of intuition, they know very early on whether a guy really is it or not, right? But they rationalize past that, trying to make things work and give things a chance. And because a lot of women, and this I'm saying this respectfully and factually, because the woman's nature is more driven emotionally, that she's more impacted by her emotions, she feels more deeply, that can overrun her logic at times or cause her to, again, shift to what she wants to believe this is rather than what it actually is. So now when you instill in me or in a man that level of intuition, but the ability to not be as driven by the emotion, I essentially can see things that others can't, and I know that I cannot move forward in this situation. But to someone else, it's like, what's wrong with her? There's nothing, no, but you don't understand what I understand.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I could totally relate, because typically when something don't work out for me, people don't understand why. It's not a very obvious thing.
Exactly.
So, and I'm the same way. Listen, I gotta put you through the test. I gotta know, you gotta be, first of all, you gotta be sturdy. You gotta be battle tested, right? And then furthermore, like I've had situations where like I had somebody come and we starting to figure it out, and immediately they're like, we need to go on a trip. We need to do, I'm like, yo, lady, ma'am, get out of here. Who are you? What have you done to, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, nah, you gotta be by my side. I gotta know you down. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot of scrutiny. Yeah. And that's what guys gotta understand. Excuse me. Speaking of guys, right? So do you think that the balance of, like, they say all is fair in love and war, right? Love and war, right? Love and hate is the same energy, different. It's the same energy, but it's just a different spectrum of that energy, right?
Yeah,
so the act of love and the act of war is the same frequency, same energy, right? Different frequencies. So what does he do to increase his success rate or give himself more leverage in a situation, right? Does he work out? Is it job? Is it like how much he earns? Like, what are the things that can armor him up? Now, and I'm saying this is not in a sense of a battle, right? Yeah. Because I think that the more a man qualifies himself for war or love, the better for the woman that he chooses, right? So what is, in your opinion, your estimation, what are those tactics or attributes a man can like pack onto himself to really qualify himself to be that guy?
So I think,
and let me explain what that guy is.
Okay.
Then I have no fucking problems, right? To have somebody that's down to shut the fuck up, that's necessary, right? And I always say that, and I be kidding, but I'm serious too. It's like you know, like, lady, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm honest with you, right? I'm not gonna cheat on you. I'm gonna take care of you. You're gonna be proud when you're out with me. You're gonna be safe when you're out with me. You're gonna gain more knowledge, more connection, like all of the things. That's why I'm like, calm down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, so I'm gonna give you some things that I think most men are not considering. Right?
Okay.
Number one is health. So there was and I could be wrong because I ain't gonna lie, it was a TikTok, so I don't know how accurate this is, right? But supposedly,
TikTok University.
Exactly. There was supposedly a test run where they had these guys run on a treadmill and sweat in their shirt. Then they gave the shirts to women to smell and say, which one are you the most attracted to? And the ones that the women picked the most happened to be the guys who had the highest immune system profile, something to that nature. So it speaks to this deeper, I think we overlook the deeper biological things that are going on that attract us to people, that create certain environments for ourselves, that pushes us in certain ways or how we make certain decisions.
Right.
And so I think we overlook the fact that health is a huge factor, not only in that sense of you being, because I think it's about, from a biological perspective, the woman can sense that you are better to mate with because you are healthier, right? But also view it as the foundation of the man to really walk into what I believe is his masculine power is his testosterone. It is making sure all his hormone levels and everything is on point or optimized as best as possible. And the fact that we become less and less healthy is why we're seeing such a decrease in masculinity and men who are really attractive to women. You know what I'm saying? So I think that if you want to start at the foundation, you have to focus on optimizing your health. Getting yourself to, because also optimizing your health allows you to be more confident, more powerful, more assertive, more focused, more driven. All of that comes from you feeling good. Because if you feel like crap, you're gonna act like crap. That's how you're gonna live your life. You know what I'm saying? So health, number one. Number two, and this is a big part for what you just asked about, if you want that chick to just be quiet,
Shut the fuck
roll
up.
with you,
You say it. Shut the fuck up.
is you gotta heal from your past.
Right.
And here's the reason why that's a big thing. It's our lack of healing that causes us to choose dysfunctional women. It's our lack of healing that allows us to overlook the red flag. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten DMs from dude that will say things like, my woman disrespects me, she doesn't do this, she doesn't do that. How do I get her back, or how do I keep her?
What?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
and it just shows you wouldn't be trying to hold on to a woman who is operating in so much dysfunction if you didn't have dysfunction within you.
Right.
When we heal, we're able to see things more clearly. We become less tolerant of negative energy. It's almost like if you've been eating bad your whole life, you don't feel how that bad food affects you. When you go clean.
Your baseline level is feeling like shit.
Exactly.
So that's normal to you.
Exactly. When you go clean and now you eat dirty, you feel it. Now you're like, damn, I didn't realize how tired this made me.
100%.
You feel me?
100%.
So when you heal, or when you don't heal, you don't understand the impact this is having on you and how to navigate through it. But when you do, everything gets clearer. And so now, because here's the reality, there's no guaranteed way to make every woman fall in line in that way, right? Because if she has toxic energy within her that she hasn't resolved, it's coming out at some point.
100%.
But if you heal yourself first, you'll be able to see who not to entertain and who you can, as well as if more and more people healed, it will then pour over into others. The more we can be an example of healing, the more others will be motivated to walk in it. And now it creates more individuals that you can connect with, vibe with, and be in a relationship with. And women who will respect who you are as a man and be able to, bring you that peace that you're looking for. So I definitely think health, I definitely think the healing. And then to me, the third thing, again, I just go back to that spirituality. I really believe that having that spiritual connection provides you a greater level of clarity in seeing past the surface. A lot of dudes can't see past the surface. So they don't, because I've seen a lot of situations where men will be like, I gave her everything, but she showed you she was trash from day one. Like, it's when we break down the relationship, there was clear warning signs that you either chose to overlook or you missed because you were so infatuated by this woman and you were so attached to the things that you wanted to believe were great about her, or you believed in her potential. Like, yo, I think if she can just handle this, she's gonna be so amazing. But you can't approach it like that.
And there's a degree of a cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
Because all of those things you said, on top of the fact that this guy is investing his time and his money into this woman, so he's like, I gotta make this work.
Yeah.
I've been that guy.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Exactly.
I'm like, shit. I've been in a situation to where I'll try to, resolve some things, and then it will kind of get smoothed over. But in my head, I'm like, this ain't gonna work. This is not gonna work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm so far in, I gotta try to make it work. Why do we see some women giving a lot of tough guy energy?
A lot of that is a defense mechanism. You know what I'm saying? They're projecting all that masculine energy because they figure, I gotta show you that you can't play me, or you're not gonna hurt me, or that it's okay to take advantage of me. You know what I'm saying? Right. And they figure that's the only way to protect themselves. And all it does is it creates conflict, especially with the certain type of, what's crazy is it creates conflict with the more masculine man, or the alpha man, so to speak, right? Because he's not gonna wanna deal with that. And even though she can get away.
You might headbutt her.
Yes.
I ain't saying he should, but he might just.
But with the more passive guy, right? She might get away with that, but all she's doing is making him even more passive. Yeah. And over time, she's gonna resent that man. She's gonna lose more respect for him. It's only gonna deteriorate the relationship. So either way, it's a problem, but it goes back to a lack of healing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the problem that's plaguing most people.
So how does one heal? How does one go into healing? I heard you say one time that men don't heal, women go into healing, but they never finish. How does one heal?
All right, so yeah, and so basically, because you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, well, the women are doing all the work and the men aren't doing it. And I'll agree, a lot of men aren't going to a culture therapist, at least at the rate that women do. Yeah. A lot of women are doing that, but they're just venting, learning how to manage and cope. They're not actually resolving anything. So neither side is really healing the way that they need to heal.
Right.
Now, as far as how you heal, I'm gonna try to run through it real fast, because again, everything is broken down in my Love After Heartbreak book. But essentially, first you gotta recognize what you've been holding on to. So we do this thing called the Who Hurt Me list, where you get a piece of paper, you write down who hurt me, and then you ask yourself that question. And then everybody who comes to mind, you put them on the paper. Doesn't matter how long ago it happened, doesn't matter if you think you moved past it. If they come to mind, there's some kind of significance there, right? Put the name of the paper, a couple sentences of what they did to hurt you. Because a lot of people are suppressing the things that have traumatized them, that hurt them, and they don't understand what they've been holding on and that's been lingering on in their life. And they think it's not impacting them, but it is. Then the second part of it is you gotta get things off your chest. So you gotta look at it like emotions are energy, and we suppress our emotions in the way that we feel about something. We're trapping negative, bad energy in our body, and that creates emotional stress. And stress is the number one inducer of disease. So that's why you see a lot of people, like I used to see so many women and men, but I want to focus on women for a second. Women who would eat right, exercise, everything, they get cancer. Now, granted, we live in a world where there's all kinds of factors that's providing cancer, chemicals and things of that nature. But what I found was the common denominator in all those situations was toxic relationships, unresolved trauma. These women were not happy in their private lives. You know what I'm saying? And that was creating the stress that was making them sick. So a lot of people don't understand this is affecting you on so many different levels, so you gotta get it out. So essentially you have to go through an emotional detox. You gotta flush out all that bad energy, so we write a letter. And in that letter, we don't hold nothing back. Because a lot of people will say, well, I've spoken to someone before about the issue, or I wrote a letter before, but you were trying to find the right things to say. You were trying to manage the situation properly, but that didn't allow you to flush everything out. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, even when we detox in a health perspective, you can start eating all the good food you want right now, but if you've been eating bad your whole life, you're just piling the good on top of the bad. You're not gonna get the full full power of eating better right now until you flush out the negative stuff. Right. That's why detoxing is so powerful in the health space. Fasting, yes, exactly, because I'm a huge believer in fasting. That helps reset the system, get you back to a cleaner state, and now when you're doing these positive things, you're gonna get the full benefit of them. So we got to emotional detox. We got to get everything out of our system. And there's 2 parts to the letter. We won't go through all of it right now, but there's a 2-step process to it. After that, the process includes forgiving, because a lot of times, and I really feel like this is important for men to understand, forgiving ain't telling somebody what they did is okay. It's just saying, I ain't gonna hold on to this. You know what I'm saying? It's to free you from that bad energy. And we think that it's a bad thing to forgive. It's not bad to forgive. You need to, because when you don't, you're holding on to something that serves you no good. And you ain't doing nothing to them. It's like that saying that says to not forgive is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Right.
You feel me? It's like you only hurting yourself. So we got to learn to forgive, and not just forgive people, because the reality is that people who hurt us, it's a function of their own issues, not really, it's not about us per se. It's about they have demons they have not conquered, and that stuff pours over into other people. But we also have to forgive ourselves, because there's a lot of us who we've made mistakes, and rather than forgiving ourselves, we hold that mistake over our own head. And now we don't trust ourselves. And now we're not as confident as we need to be. And now we second guess everything, or we allow it to defeat us and keep us in this negative cycle. But the reality of life is we all make mistakes, and there's no man who has succeeded in life who hasn't failed at some point. And it's not really failure, it's just a temporary misstep, or however you want to phrase it, you know what I'm saying?
Market research.
Exactly, that's it. It's an opportunity to learn, make corrections, get better. So once we learn to forgive, and then also we have to reprogram our brains from the negative perceptions we hold on to. So like when dudes think no woman can be trusted. Now, hear me out, because I believe I don't believe in trusting anyone 100%, right? Because I believe everyone's capable of doing something shady. I don't care who you are.
Right.
With the right circumstances, you might make a bad decision. You know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I live my life distrusting. I just live my life understanding that there's a little bit of room of this person might pull some nonsense that I didn't think they would do initially. Or really even me, I don't put anything past anybody, so to speak.
Right.
But if your mentality is no woman can be trusted, you're thinking from a very negative place. And now you come into every relationship guarded, not allowing yourself to fully experience the real potential of that relationship. To me, like, one of the messages I'm hearing on the internet that I hate that are being told to men is, don't fall in love with a woman, right? And I think it's very bad, unhealthy advice. One, because as we talked about earlier, you don't really control who you fall in love with, meaning you don't meet a woman and say, I'm gonna fall in love with her. It just happens. So for a man to not fall in love with a woman, what he's really saying is, I will run from love when it shows its face. All right? Meaning I will operate out of fear rather than figure out how to conquer this. The thing that men have to understand is love isn't what did us wrong. The lack of love is what did us wrong. Fear is what did us wrong. When we allowed it to consume us, it's because we didn't learn how to manage the situation. So it's what I call, we have to learn how to love within our masculine, right? It's like a lot of times growing up, when you're not taught how to handle the emotions of love and feeling in love with a woman, we lose ourselves in it. We actually slide more into our feminine, you know what I'm saying? And we become more insecure. And I'm not saying these things are feminine traits, but we naturally become a little bit more insecure because we're more vulnerable. We care more about what this woman thinks. We may try to overcompensate trying to keep her, or we fear we will never find this again. So now we lose ourselves in trying to keep her. But if we learn how to manage ourselves in that moment, not run away from being in love, we can now experience the greatness of it while still making sure that we don't fall into the same traps we fell into before. You feel me? So I just feel that we have to learn how to reprogram our brain from these negative perceptions we hold on to that are only basically self-defeating and causing us to not find success. It's almost like if you failed at certain businesses and now you just think no business works, it's all gonna lead to failure, you will always be afraid to be successful.
Yeah, I see the people that fall into those categories are people who forget about the work they got to do from failed relationships. It's just their own work on themselves, qualifying themselves, becoming confident men and accomplished men themselves. I don't think guys should even be thinking about relationships until they have some kind of foundation set.
Yeah, foundation is the key word.
You know, because you're gonna be at a disadvantage. Here's the thing: the gym I go to, I go early in the morning, right? But every now and then I'll go hit a second workout in the evening, and I see the young kids, right? I see little 22-year-old dudes, 22-year-old girls, right? And I'm like, bro, you about to get your heart destroyed. But women are powerful, and women are women before we're men.
Yeah.
The chronological ages is not aligned with our maturity and what we're ready for. Women are born with the attributes that we like. We have to develop the attributes they like that we can provide for them. Yeah. So it takes a while. And you know, I got a lot of mentees, and I tell them like, yo, especially when you're young, bro, go to the gym longer, learn this, get certified in that, work more, come up with more ideas, start a business, just try it, start an e-commerce business, do these things, right? Because guys another thing that'll happen is they'll stifle their development as men by trying to get into relationships too early.
Yeah.
You're young, attractive, she's into you, she don't even realize what she needs yet. But as it's going along, she realized that this is not it. You have nothing to provide but some intimacy, and that's not enough. It's interesting, I seen you know, sometimes you get stuck in a rabbit hole on YouTube. I got stuck on some loyalty test videos, right?
Okay.
Oh my God, I feel so bad for these guys, man. Every one, the girl cheated or would have cheated because the other guy was more successful. Every one, or older, had their lives together. And one guy, he's sitting there crying. And one fucking, why? And she like, cause you're broke. She said that.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, now, that was that, right? But I think that's a constant in the male-female exchange, right? We are designed to take care of them, to protect and provide for them, right? That's like, if I'm not in position to do that, I'm not even wasting your time, man. I can look at you from afar, but I'm not even there. And I've always been like that. I was not that guy crying over girls because I couldn't maintain it. And I didn't do that, right? I just knew better, you know? And my spiritual teachers taught me at a very young age, you don't deserve these women until you can take care of them.
Yeah.
Like, who are you for her to give herself to you? And that's another thing about women too. It's like, I always tell them, like, stop giving yourself to anybody because they're giving you compliments and he's nice. I know women who are like dope, right? That are giving themselves to losers. And I'm like, how'd that happen? They're like, I don't know. They're like, he was just so nice. He complimented me every day. You know what I mean? It tells me a couple of things. One, that any man can have any woman that he wants, whether he got shit or not. Now, he may not have her the right capacity, but he can at least experience her, right? It takes a lot of persistence and all of that shit. But it's interesting because women will, I guess, dumb herself down for a dude that's being persistent and being nice and saying the right things.
But you want to finish that?
Yeah, I just think that people got to be smarter than that.
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of it is due to, again, I hate this like a broken record, but a lot of situations that woman will accept that guy because it feels safer there. Because again, you know, both the men and the women are navigating from this place of fear of, all right, last time I went for this certain type of person, I got hurt. So now with this guy where I feel like he's put me on a pedestal, he's complimenting me, showing me all this attention and time, I can give myself to him because he's gonna appreciate me versus that guy who has so much more going on for him and got so many more options. I'm just another woman to him. You know what I'm saying?
It goes back to the confidence on the female side as well.
Yes.
You know, because the women in my family, like, I listen to them, I hear them talking and like talking to my sister and all, and they were like real throwback women, you know what I'm saying? So, and everybody is confident. I feel like nowadays, people are out there in the world with no instruction manuals that they didn't get from their parents for whatever reason. So they don't know what to do. They don't know which beautiful women popping up pregnant, who made out how their lives together, getting pregnant by guys who can't support them.
Exactly.
I'm like, how did this happen? You know, so it's like people, you know, that's why I salute you and people that's in the space that is giving some kind of wisdom and guidance and direction, because a lot of people need it. A lot of people don't have the upbringing. A lot of people don't have the foundation or successful situations to go and refer to in their families or whatever, and they're not confident in themselves. Yeah. So that, you know, I'm broken and we can be broken together. And it kind of sucks, you know, but that's just how it is, you know, and people do need those beacons and those guiding lights, shining lights to kind of help, like, no, come over here.
Yeah. And you know what was also going back to your point of like, because I was the same way as you. I felt like if I didn't have my stuff together, I'm not out there looking for women. That makes no sense.
Right.
I'm focused on my grind and building myself up. But I think what's happened is, once upon a time, all this boyfriend-girlfriend relationship did not exist the way it exists now, right? So for you to get a woman, it was marriage. So you had to, exactly. And so you had to look at it from the perspective of, not only can I provide for her today, can I sustain this? Like, have I built myself up to truly be ready? And not to mention whether it was arranged marriages in different cultures, or even in American culture where you had to go speak to the dad and get his approval, right? There was a process of someone deeming you qualified enough to marry their daughter. And that had a higher standard placed on it. Whereas boyfriend and girlfriend takes the assumption of, it doesn't matter where you are in life. You can just, if you like each other, if you love each other, go ahead and be in a relationship. And so a lot of men don't view it from the perspective of, I'm not truly ready to provide from this woman in a way that's gonna be a long-term thing. They're just trying to have the short-term enjoyment of it, but then it creates all kinds of messiness and wreaks all kinds of havoc, because now you get some woman pregnant that you probably weren't even best to be with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or you become attached to her, or you feel like you've poured so much time and energy, now you don't know how to walk away from it, or you're afraid to be by yourself. Like, there's so many different things.
I want to end on this, but I appreciate you for coming on, bro. We gotta do this again.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Men are not, one of the big issues is this. Men are not finding their purpose and they're not living in it. So when they meet a woman, that's it. That's their purpose. That's everything. And the world, that's why there's like, I remember when I was in college, man, hearing about dude killed this girl, then killed himself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've heard things
like
that.
To him, that was it. That was his world.
Yeah.
And that, in my opinion, it should never be that.
Yeah.
It should never be that. I don't even think, a woman might think that she want a man that's 100% about her. They don't really want that. I don't want that. They want a man who got some purpose, some direction, that can't be moved off of it. You know what I'm saying? So, like my woman, I love her to death. That's my baby girl, but I want this.
Yeah.
And everything else comes after that, because this is my lifeline.
Yeah.
And I do important things for a lot of people, and I take care of people. And I'm not gonna shake that. Like, I had a thing to where I was like, no boyfriend mode for a long time for me. You know what I'm saying? Because at one point I did get into boyfriend mode and was getting lazy.
Yeah.
Having too much fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's why it's important for men to understand. It's not about picking the woman you want and then trying to make her into what you want her to be. It's about finding out who is in alignment with you, who respects where you are. That's why I always tell men, find out the life you want to live first, and then see the woman who fits into that lifestyle. Plain and simple. Because again, for some dudes, we're wired to want to live in a luxurious life, or we have those options or whatever, right? But there's other dudes who want a simple life. And on the flip side, there are women who appreciate a simple life. That's all they want.
100%.
There's other women who want a more lavish lifestyle. Let the like-minded people get with their like-minded individual.
Right.
But you won't know who you can get with until you figure yourself out first. So I definitely think it's establishing that purpose, of establishing what do you want out of your life and how to live it, and then see, and again, never, any woman who's like, well, that don't work for me. All right, bye. Like, that's it.
Yeah,
no matter how much you want her. If she don't fit, she don't fit.
No worries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Move on to the next.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be so much happier with the woman who actually is in alignment with you.
Right. All right, so Stephan, I appreciate you. I salute you. You got my full support. I love what you do. You're always welcome on my platform. You know what I mean? To give your message to the world. And if you got any wisdom that you want to impart on the people before you go, like, what would it be?
Man, that's just the healing, man. Like, I really want, because I know most of the people watch this video are gonna be men, and I really want them to understand that healing thing is serious. And it's not even about women and relationships. It's about your quality of life, you having more peace, you being able to tap into your greater power, so to speak, and resolving on that, all that underlying trauma is gonna set you free in a way that you don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, get that health in order. I tell dudes all the time, yo, get your hormone levels checked.
100%.
Find out what your testosterone is. Find out what your vitamin D level is. Because those simple fixes can be game changing for a man and allow you again to live a higher quality of life. But yes, it has the bonus effect of improving your dating life and your relationship life.
But a good quality dating life is all part of a higher quality life.
Absolutely.
So appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Let's do it. Let's run it back.
All right, cool.
Yes, sir.